You know, there's only 3 things that are certain in life. Constant disappointment in the direction of your favorite childhood franchises, the regret of not banging your high school teacher when you had the chance, and the promise of a new Call of Duty game.
They would kill each one of you given the open shot.
Time we had a chat.
And this time we have Black Ops 6. And even just saying that title out loud is wild. Black Ops 6. I was in school when Black Ops 1 came out, and with Black Ops 1 back in the day, and even considered by today's standards, it's pretty safe to say that it is a good game. And I'm sure that Black Ops 6 will be just as good and fulfill that itch that we have been needing scratched for so very, very long. Right? Call of Duty Black Ops 6 marks the 21st entry in the Call of Duty franchise and the 7th within the Black Ops sub-series. Developed by Treyarch alongside Raven Software and published by Activision, this installment boasts a 4-year development period, making it the longest in the history of the series. This extended timeline allowed the team to enhance gameplay mechanics and introduce innovative features. With a recent decision to adopt a unified engine approach prior to the game's announcement. And with the state of the Call of Duty franchise, particularly the Warzone era, being far from great, burning the community multiple times, Activision, now owned by Microsoft, resorts to the one Call of Duty sub-series that still has any goodwill left, and that of course being the Black Ops series. The gunplay in Black Ops 6 does feel incredibly smooth and responsive, with each weapon providing a gratifying mix of recoil, sound, and impact. Whether you're wielding an assault rifle or a sniper rifle, there's a distinct variety in how they handle. Despite the many shortcomings of modern Call of Duty titles, they consistently excel in creating engaging gunfights, which is something you will really notice in comparison to many other FPS games on the market. The movement mechanics have seen some redefinement thanks to the introduction of Omni Movement, which allows for seamless transitions between sprinting, aiming, vaulting, sliding over obstacles, all that type of stuff. However, it still maintains the fast-paced arcade-like movement that fans expect from a Call of Duty game. Although there was a lot of hype surrounding Omni Movement before the game's release, it ultimately integrates smoothly into the gameplay and becoming a natural part of the experience. That said though, players can still expect to witness some truly outrageous moments in multiplayer thanks to this new Omni Movement. Black Ops 6 is broken up into 3 main game modes, that being the campaign, multiplayer, and zombies. So let's go through them, shall we? Oh, and no, I will not be covering Warzone, as that is more or less its own thing, but holy shit, it is absolutely chalked over there. Like, really bad. Now, there was once a time when Call of Duty campaigns actually mattered and could tell a compelling and engaging story. Alas, that has not been the case for many years now, especially after they decided to reboot the Modern Warfare story and take away all the edge and excitement from that story and make a very toned down version of all the characters that are just in general a toned down version of the whole Modern Warfare storyline. However, the Black Ops series has not been rebooted, so we're still in the same continuity from World at War all the way up until Black Ops 6 now. So things like Mason being brainwashed and Raul Menendez are still considered canon in the Black Ops timeline. Now, I do understand that Call of Duty Cold War did introduce some characters that were originally only in the Modern Warfare storyline. However, mostly the Black Ops storyline is still coherent. Black Ops 6 serves as a direct continuation from Black Ops Cold War, set in the early 1990s during the backdrop of Operation Desert Storm. The story follows rogue CIA operatives, including the returning characters like Frank Woods and Russell Adler, as well as new characters like Troy Marshall and the silent player-controlled character Case. Dealing with espionage and conspiracy themes established in the previous Black Ops titles, the campaign is described as a spy thriller and picks up after Cold War's resolution, delving into new geopolitical tensions and personal vendettas. One thing that I have always liked about the Black Ops series was how they were able to take real-life world events and build stories around them, as opposed to just completely making things up like Modern Warfare did. Okay, now I'm going to explain the plot to Black Ops 6, so get comfortable for this part. In 1991, during the early days of Operation Desert Storm, CIA operatives Troy Marshall and Case, alongside their handler Jane Hurrow, are sent to the Iraq-Kuwait border to extract Iraqi Defense Minister Saeed al-Wawi. However, their mission is derailed when al-Wawi claims that he's being targeted by a rogue paramilitary group called Pantheon. After surviving an encounter with Pantheon, the team attempts to complete the extraction, but al-Wawi is killed by rogue CIA agent Russell Adler. Before his death, Adler sends a message to Marshall telling him to pass on Bishop takes Rook as a message to fellow operative Frank Woods. Adler's message leads Marshall and Case to a KGB safe house in Bulgaria known as the Rook from their previous investigation in 1976. To continue their mission, they recruit ex-IT technical expert Felix Newman and an assassin known as Sev. The team then breaks Adler out of a CIA black site while a political event hosted by Governor Bill Clinton takes place above the ground. They manage to escape, but Pantheon assaults the site and frames them as the attackers, making them fugitives. Adler reveals that Pantheon is involved in arms deals with Saddam Hussein, and the team is assisted by MI6 agent Helena Park, and SAS forces raids one of Hassan Hussein's palaces, finding the Cradle, a dangerous psychochemical weapon developed at a CIA biolab. The team later discovers Pantheon has stolen the Cradle and learns from a hallucinating Case that Pantheon was originally a CIA division working on the Cradle as a performance-enhancing drug, with Case as the sole test subject. After recovering from his hallucinations, Case finds out that Hurrow is secretly working with Pantheon. The team tracks financial records from a casino in Avalon to Gustav, Pantheon's head scientist, who reveals that the Cradle is being stored in Vorkuta. During the raid in Vorkuta, they fail to stop the Cradle from being moved but capture Hurrow. Adler uses a truth serum on her, revealing that Pantheon plans to use the Cradle to carry out a false flag attack on the Capitol building and frame Livingstone. Pantheon forces assault the Rook to rescue Hurrow, and Case pursues her, boarding her helicopter as they escape. In the struggle, the helicopter crashes, and under the influence of the Cradle gas, Case then kills Hurrow. After the Capitol is evacuated, 2 weeks later, the team meets up with Livingstone, who tasks them with continuing to eliminate Pantheon. Meanwhile, Pantheon operative Jackson Kane infiltrates Livingstone's office and accesses sensitive information. Yeah, so that is a lot to take in. However, this is the current direction of the new era of Call of Duty, where everything just has to be over-the-top cinematic style storytelling. When it comes to being a plotline from something out of a movie, I will still argue that the original Modern Warfare trilogy did that the best. The storyline in those three games is essentially Michael Bay's wet dream. Even the first and second Black Ops games had a movie-style plotline, yet it was very much digestible and easy to follow without the need of cinematic-style cutscenes, which is something I personally don't believe belongs in Call of Duty. All we need is the intro cutscene into a mission where it's mostly just a map or photos or whatever with people talking over it, a little brief period at the start of mission where we see some characters normally doing more talking or killing a guard or something like that, and then it's just action and the story is told throughout the mission. And that can be something as simple as Captain Price finding a manifest on a ship and saying something like, "Oh crap, there's bombs that have been sent from Russia to terrorists, we need to stop that." And then that just leads into the next mission and so forth and so forth. Something as simple as that over the course of an entire campaign then gives you a full story. And honestly, I don't know how I feel about this game being a mainline Black Ops storyline. The only thing that really connects us to the overarching Black Ops story is the fact that we have Frank Woods and the words Raul Menendez are thrown around every now and then to keep the player's interest. This seems much more like a side story set in the Black Ops universe that can tie in, because they do often talk about the CIA being compromised, and players familiar with Black Ops 2 will know that, oh yes, the CIA, especially around this time in the storyline, is heavily compromised. In fact, it's how Woods ended up in a wheelchair and how Menendez was able to have such power during Black Ops 2. One thing that it does do is provide an answer to an ongoing Black Ops 2 question, and that is, who is the mole inside of the CIA, as we never got a definitive answer in Black Ops 2, but over here in Black Ops 6, it seems to heavily imply that it is in fact Jane Hurrow. And with Pantheon being such a big threat in this game, we still know that they are around based off the ending of this game, And we see the typewriter man from the opening cutscene is in fact the Pantheon agent at the terminal at the end of the campaign. There is still the ongoing threat of Pantheon, which is not completely resolved in this story. Now granted, there will probably be additional cutscenes as the life cycle goes on with this game, and more seasons will probably wrap up the whole Pantheon storyline by the end of Black Ops 6's life cycle. Also, another problem with this cinematic approach to storytelling is the first level. It shifts back and forth from player to cutscene, and it just happens too much. A first level, at least in my opinion, should grab you and have something happen that really gets you engaged. Now, this takes a whole level to happen before Russell Adler comes out and executes the character you're supposed to protect, but this whole constant shift back and forth, at least in my opinion, destroys the first level being engaging. Now, this next thing I want to talk about, I do know that Black Ops Call of Duty did this, but Black Ops 6 takes it to a whole nother level. Call of Duty should not have a main hub area, and it sure as shit should not have dialogue options, something like an RPG game. Seriously, when you're talking to some of these characters, it was reminding me of the Outer Worlds, the way they would just stare at you and these dialogue options will come up. This is a Call of Duty game. I do not need to hear Woods tell me his backstory. Motherfucker, I've played Black Ops 1, his story is there. And I found it so stupid that in this game, the hub area, you can spend money you find during missions to upgrade your skills, such as reloading faster, regenerating health faster, putting armor plates in faster. Oh yeah, and the idea of armor plates in the campaign, I absolutely despise. This is just more Warzone mechanics bleeding into modes where they shouldn't be in it. And Black Ops 6's campaign just has far too many quick time events. There'll be something like where you're falling off a ladder and you have to press the button to grab on the rail, whereas in the older Call of Duty titles, your character would fall from the ladder and just automatically catch the rail or something like that. It doesn't have to be a quick time where you miss the rail and you fall to your death. It's just stupid. Now, I do promise there is something coming up that I want to talk about positively with this campaign, but before we get to that, the idea of these open area missions where you travel to all these different points of interest to complete tasks like blowing up a SAM site or something like that, what the fuck is this? It should just be a linear story that takes you through each of the part of that particular area, and instead of driving around in a car where I can fast travel back and forth, what am I playing here? This is supposed to be a Call of Duty game. I believe that Call of Duty campaigns excel in set mission pieces, and I believe that a lot of first-person shooters excel in their campaign in this area, and Call of Duty is no exception to this. The idea of these predetermined battles being played out where the player has control and ultimately drives towards victory is the way these missions should play out. And there is some levels in Black Ops 6 that they do this particularly well, such as most of the Iraq levels. Honestly, apart from the one that I was just mentioning earlier where you're driving around in a car, all the Iraq levels in this game are pretty good, apart from that one. But even with that being said, none of these levels really match up to the all-time greats from previous campaigns, something like Black Ops 1 or the original Modern Warfare 2. However, where Black Ops 6 truly excels is where it tries to be a little different and really commit to being more far out there. The best example of this is the level where your character, Case, is hallucinating and it drives the plot forward about the bioweapon known as the Cradle. And throughout this level, we get mannequins that move when you're not looking at them. They turn into zombies from the zombie mode and attack you. We even have the 115 song playing from Black Ops 1. These levels are where Call of Duty Black Ops 6 excels at being different. Where it tries to play catch up to other previous Call of Duty titles, it completely falls short in every other regard. And when you're playing a Black Ops campaign, we've all come to expect there to be some crazy plot twist or some crazy what the fuck moment. And they've done that since Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 6. You're expecting it to happen, but when it happens, I admit, I actually thought that part was pretty good. One last thing I want to mention about the campaign is the marketing behind it. Leading into the release of Black Ops 6, I really enjoyed the marketing campaign of the Truth Lies branding that they were doing, showing 90s world leaders and historical figures. This fits in perfectly with the setting of a Black Ops game. And what we got instead was a very brief appearance of Bill Clinton and Saddam Hussein mentioned by name. That's it. The promise of a worldwide government conspiracy type of story was nowhere to be found. Instead, it boils down to the CIA is compromised, which again is something we already knew going into this game. I mean, for fuck's sakes, it has Woods in the wheelchair. Black Ops 6 completely fumbled the opportunity to provide a deep story of political espionage that could have served to heighten the upcoming threat present in Black Ops 2. Instead, I had a bad Fallout-style dialogue options, hoping that someone would mention Menendez or Hudson. So for me, the campaign is a very mixed bag, but let's move on. Okay, now let's move on to the multiplayer, probably the most played part of any Call of Duty. And oh boy, I have a note here right in front of me that says, do not turn this into an SBMM rant. But I really need to touch on the skill-based matchmaking that is the Black Ops 6 multiplayer. For quite a while now, Call of Duty has had a massive issue with skill-based matchmaking, and for a long time, Activision denied its existence. But it got to the point where it was so obviously real, they had to address it. And their defense was to say that it was actually a good thing and keeps players' retentions. This whole system is fundamentally broken. Again, I do not want to get into the skill-based matchmaking rant, but let's just say that Black Ops 6 has taken skill-based matchmaking and dialed it to 11. No, scrap that, it's gone up to 12. You play 2 good games where you get 30 kills with 15 deaths. So what's that, a 2.0 KD? Next thing you know, you're playing against Optic Scump at his peak. It feels like every single public match you play in, you're playing for a $1 million esports tournament, which I wouldn't mind in a ranked mode. Okay, well, let's quickly talk about the ranked mode. It's absolutely plagued with cheaters. They even tweeted about this, saying that Ricochet, which is the anti-cheat, is doing absolutely nothing, and it's going to take until Season 2 or maybe Season 3 to get the system working, which I don't even believe this system will be working by then. Ricochet has never worked in Call of Duty. Ultimately, Black Ops 6 multiplayer plays the way you would expect a Black Ops multiplayer to play, with the addition of
Omni movement.
and some incredibly lackluster, god-awful, terribly designed maps. Black Ops 6 multiplayer, well, it just sucks ass. The only thing that keeps me coming back to the multiplayer is I am determined to get Dark Matter, which is the final camo, on every weapon in the game. It does make for entertaining streams, but apart from that, there's absolutely no reason to force this painful experience upon yourself. Now, I am very far from the best Call of Duty player in the world, but I would also say that I'm better than your average Call of Duty player. But the skill-based matchmaking in this game is set out to punish people that play good. There's people that I know personally that I can't play this game with because when they go join up with me, it's just a massacre against them. So why would they want to continue playing with me? We really desperately need to go back to the old connection-based system for Call of Duty multiplayer. Now, of course, it can't be enough that the game has a major hacker problem and the launch maps are just dog-awful in this game. On top of that, we have terrible servers. The amount of lag you'll experience in this making the game damn near unplayable. Now, as of this recording, we're getting towards the end of Season 1 and we're currently in the middle of the absolute scam that is the Squid Game 2 event, which, make no mistake about it, is nothing more than a monetization update. So they dropped this absolute shameless monetization update disguised as a limited time mode without addressing any of the concerns that is plaguing this game. Activision to a fucking T, isn't it? On top of that, throw in the recent controversy that is going on with the way Activision is implementing AI into this game. Of course, we got the infamous zombies with 6 fingers loading screen, and the fact that voice actors are leaving the game because Activision refuses to tell them if AI is going to replace them or not. Activision is a $1 billion company, and they're saying that they can't afford to pay their actors for this game. It's an absolute just crock of shit. It's just pure scumbag tactics. So add all this together and what do you have? 50% roughly of the Steam player base leaving the game before Season 2 releases. It's not even just the multiplayer servers that are busted, it's also the zombie ones that are busted as well. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about zombies. So in the zombies mode, players can team up in groups ranging from 1 to 4 to battle against relentless waves of undead zombies. Of course, this mode became famous with its release with Call of Duty World at War, and each wave becomes more numerous with the zombies and more challenging. As of this review, there are currently 3 maps available, that being Terminus, Liberty Falls, and Citadel des Mortes, I think is how you pronounce it, with more expected in future seasons. Each map offers a main quest for players to complete along with various side quests and hidden secrets waiting to be uncovered. However, it is worth noting that Liberty Falls has received criticism as a subpar zombie map, while the other two are generally well received, and I completely agree with the community sentiment around this one. Liberty Falls is straight up trash! After the initial release, we got a directed mode which was added to help players navigate the main quest with in-game guidance. Personally, I find this very unappealing. The zombies community typically divides into three categories: the casual players who aim for high rounds and enjoyment, and there's those like myself who engage with some Easter eggs and know very basic about the overarching storyline. That's the second category. And then the third, you have the hardcore enthusiasts who just follow every clue they can possibly find to uncover and decode this very complex narrative that is Call of Duty Zombies. I believe that introducing a mode that guides players through the steps to find all the secrets diminishes the core appeal for hardcore fans. But I am open to hearing other opinions on this one, because I feel like this is actually a topic that really should be discussed a little bit more within the Call of Duty Zombies community. So the core gameplay revolves around two key currencies: Essence and Salvage. Essence is essential for unlocking new areas, obtaining player upgrades such as the Coca-Cola cans, and enhancing weapons through the Pack-a-Puncher machine. On the other hand, Salvage is used for modifying weapon ammo and crafting both lethal and tactical equipment. Players can also use Gobblegums, which are one-time use items that provide unique effects in the game. It's reminiscent of a blend between Black Ops 3 and Cold War with its approach to zombies, with a stronger emphasis on Cold War elements. Now look, I am very far from a lore master when it comes to the Call of Duty zombie storyline. I have the bare minimum to get by here. Basically, something Richtofen is the peak of my understanding. So for that reason, I'm not going to comment too much on the Black Ops 6 Zombies storyline, but what I can tell you is that Black Ops 6 Zombies, while being far ahead the best part of the game, has more than its own share of issues, such as the awful server connections I mentioned earlier, and the game since launch has never had a good balance on the high rounds. The game is either in a state of too many special zombies spawning in, which is just artificial difficulty, so much that the spawn rate had to be nerfed, only to replace it with other issues like vermin having a double attack which they're not supposed to have.
Double boy.
Don't know what, but I blame Richtofen.
Or even just underpowered wonder weapons. And just like with multiplayer, Zombies is yet to have a decent limited time mode. Now, if you're watching this in the future and come season 2 or later they do put out a decent limited time mode, remember, it wasn't here when I recorded this. I know I'm probably coming off as very harsh against Black Ops 6 Zombies, and I do think there is quite a lot to enjoy in this mode, but the issues surrounding everything about this mode and the whole game is astounding. There's just hundreds of little issues that when added up create a magnitude of problems. And I know I'm far from the only one that feels like this. Again, refer back to the Steam charts that shows that the game has lost roughly 50% of its Steam player base. Obviously there's outside reasons like the release of new games and whatnot, but this is a Black Ops Call of Duty. And for it to lose half its player base in 3 or so months shows that there's significant problems that desperately need to be addressed. With the many issues currently present in Black Ops 6, it's incredibly hard to recommend this game to anyone outside of the die-hard Call of Duty player base. People that haven't played a COD since the golden age that might be tempted to come back by the words Black Ops, listen to me right now. This is not the one to come back for. Especially with the current state of the game just sucking out any last goodwill of the player base the same way that Sasha Grey sucked out the... We've all seen the video, you know what I'm talking about. Now, let's just say that all the cheating and server issues are fixed. What we would then have is a Call of Duty that has all the pieces to be one of the all-time greats. Yes, all the pieces are here for a brilliant Call of Duty, but it's ultimately held back by many decisions that can only be described in one word: Activision. The best way I can sum up this game is Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is absolutely a video game that definitely does exist. But what about you? Have you guys been enjoying Black Ops 6? Do you think it's trash? Let me know in the comments section down below. Thank you so very much for watching this. Really do appreciate it. Hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed it. Thumbs down if you didn't. Leave a comment, subscribe. If you really enjoyed it, consider becoming a channel member. It really does help with the production of these types of videos, all that fantastic stuff. But just one last note here. Nazma, we desperately need a palette cleanser from Black Ops 6. Can you put on like some Black Ops 1 or Black Ops 2 sniper montage or something? Give the people something good to go out on.